Today, we are mainly going to tell the story of Xi Jinping's eldest brother-in-law, Deng Jiagui. But we must start with Liu Qiangdong, the founder of the Chinese e-commerce giant JD.com. In 2019, Liu Qiangdong, the chairman of JD.com, who had been basking in infinite glory, experienced the biggest stain of his life. That year, Liu Qiangdong took his pampered wife, who was over a dozen years his junior, and his mother-in-law on a private jet worth 400 million yuan to Minnesota, USA, to attend a Doctor of Business Administration program jointly operated by the Carlson School of Management and Tsinghua University. On this day, Liu Qiangdong left his family behind and gathered with a group of friends at a restaurant. Liu Qiangdong was very lucky, as a female student was sitting next to him, and in front of a beauty, Liu Qiangdong drank quite decisively. After cups and glasses were exchanged, he became even more light-headed. Under the influence of alcohol, his ick dropped rapidly, and he quickly changed his plan of continuing to party with his friends, arriving instead at the apartment building where the beauty was staying. After 2 minutes of intense sex, Liu Qiangdong quickly fell asleep. During this time, this female student contacted a classmate, and the latter called the police. Local police arrived at the girl's apartment that morning. While Liu Qiangdong was present, the girl refused to press charges, and ultimately Liu Qiangdong was able to leave smoothly. However, shortly after leaving, Liu Qiangdong received a text message from the girl. He delegated an assistant to contact the girl, and the girl stated that she wished to discuss what happened yesterday and hoped to receive legal protection. The disagreement between the two sides grew larger and larger. At this moment, Liu Qiangdong's assistant suggested letting the girl meet with Lai Hua that night, saying, "You can say your piece, but we will say ours. Let Boss Lai talk to you first. This Boss Lai is someone both our sides trust and can communicate with you first. This Lai Hua is the chairman of Excellence Real Estate Group, and he was Liu Qiangdong's classmate in the doctoral program at the time. He was also at that dinner party that night. His origins with Liu Qiangdong go beyond this. Excellence and JD.com cooperated to establish a commercial management company, jointly operating two joint venture shopping centers in Shanghai and Nanjing. Excellence provided office property management services for JD.com in 6 major regions across the country, with a contracted area of nearly 1 million square meters. JD.com provided huge traffic support for Excellence's real estate flagship store. Not only that, Lai Hua also has a deep friendship with Tencent boss Ma Huiting. Both graduated from Shenzhen University and are backbone members of the Tongxing Club, and Tencent and JD.com participated together in the cornerstone investment of Excellence Commercial Management. What makes people most amazed is that, under circumstances where real estate companies were exploding defaulting everywhere, the Postal Savings Bank, China Construction Bank, and Minsheng Bank conversely gave the Excellence Group over 40 billion in credit lines. The National Association of Financial Market Institutional Investors, subordinate to the People's Bank of China, was the first to approve Excellence's issuance of 5 billion in medium-term notes, and the China Securities Regulatory Commission, CSRC, was not to be outdone, approving Excellence's 2 billion plus carbon neutrality ABS project and corporate bonds at light speed. Relevant media reports said that under current market conditions, private real estate enterprises frequently face obstacles in public market financing. Yet Excellence was able to obtain multiple approval documents from financial regulatory agencies in a short time, all of which reflects the recognition and support of financial regulatory agencies for Excellence. In January 2019, Lai Hua was taken away for investigation because he was implicated in the case of Shenzhen Political and Legal Affairs Commission Secretary Lai Huanan. But he was released in less than half a month. So who exactly is this Lai Hua? This sacred figure who can make business tycoons like Ma Huiting and Liu Qiangdong and regulatory agencies like the CSRC and the People's Bank of China. And even the four major commercial banks give him so much face. The Panama Papers leaked in 2016 revealed part of the answer for us. Deng Jiagui had formed the Excellence Tongli Real Estate Company in partnership with the Lai Hua brothers in the British Virgin Islands, with Deng Jiagui and the Lai brothers each holding 50% of the shares. This Deng Jiagui is the husband of Xi Jinping's eldest sister, Kai Kairo Kiao. Before meeting Kai Kairo Kiao, Deng Jiagui already had a marriage and a son. He was born in Yuxi City, Yunnan province, so he was very familiar with the tobacco industry. His elder brother once served as a deputy department-level official, possessing some connections locally, so Deng engaged in the tobacco business very early on and accumulated some wealth. In the early 1990s, Deng Jiagui met Kai Kairo Kiao, who was already divorced at the time, through an old comrade-in-arms, and began his pursuit of this middle-aged woman. Compared to other competitors, Deng Jiagui had two surpassing virtues. First was the daring to go all out in giving gifts. In 1991, he gave Kai Kairo Kiao a Hong Kong apartment worth over 3 million. At that time, his own net worth wasn't actually that much. Second was that he kept his posture sufficiently low, serving sister Kai Kairo Kiao extremely comfortably, even doing things in front of many people that most men could not bring themselves to do. Under his continuous offensive, the two formally married in 1996, and it was precisely because of Deng Jiagui's myriad connections to Yunnan. Later on, Yunnan became a base area for the Xi family. Former Inner Mongolia Party Secretary Lai Jiheng, Tibet Party Secretary Wang Junzheng, Ningxia Party Secretary Lai Yifei, and Secretary General of the Central Political and Legal Affairs Commission Yin Bai all originated from Yunnan, and the cadres of Yunnan all tried every means to get close to this big brother-in-law. Of course, this was a matter for many years later. In the 1990s, Deng Jiagui could not yet be considered a prominent big shot. In the second year of their marriage, the couple established two companies. One is the well-known Yuanwei Industrial Company, and the other is called Shenzhen Wanian Investment Company. The former was the couple's own entity, while the latter was a vehicle established in cooperation with Hainan Wanian Investment Company. Hainan Wanian Investment was originally a collective ownership enterprise subordinate to the Hainan Legal Daily, later contracted out and restructured. Kai Kairo Kiao's older half-brother, Zai Zhengning, once served as the director of the Hainan Justice Department and secretary of the Political and Legal Affairs Commission, and the boss of Hainan Wanian Investment also followed this line to seek refuge with them. The cooperation between the two was also very simple. The Deng couple was responsible for opening up relationships, and Hainan Wanian was responsible for daily operations. Before 2002, Xi Zhongsun was still alive. Most of Kai Kairo Kiao's energy still had to be used to take care of their old man, so she could only shuttle between Beijing and Shenzhen, using her spare time to help people get things done. The one mainly running the errands was Deng Jiagui. The 10 years from 1996 to 2006 were the lowest trough for the couple. On one hand, the political influence of the elder Xi Zhongsun was already very weak, possessing some influence only in places like Shenzhen. On the other hand, the Xi family's second generation, Xi Jinping, was still struggling in Fujian and Zhejiang, had not yet become a leader at the central level, and had not yet revealed signs of being the heir apparent. The Xi family at that time had become a declining family. Even in Fujian and Zhejiang, where this big brother held power, they were strictly restricted from doing business locally. Therefore, the couple could only utilize old relationships from other veteran revolutionary families and the secret help of some of Xi Jinping's subordinates to develop the business. In 1999, Xi Jinping no longer served as the party secretary of Fuzhou, but Wang Xiaohong was already serving as the director of the Fuzhou Public Security Bureau. With his help, Wanyan Investment developed the Yefeng district in Zhejiang, Fuzhou. In 2000, Wang Xiaohong was transferred to be the director of the Jiangsu Public Security Bureau, and Wanyan Investment developed the Zhenyang Commercial Plaza in Yunxiao, Jiangsu. That Wang Xiaohong was able to become the retainer the Xi family trusts most in the future is absolutely not just because of his interactions with Xi Jinping and his wife alone. Around 2001, Industrial Bank SIB, headquartered in Fujian, hoped to find an office building in Shenzhen. Chen Yan, the first chairman of Industrial Bank, was then serving as the Secretary General of the Fujian provincial government, equivalent to Governor Xi Jinping's chief secretary, and frequently went to Shenzhen to visit the elder Xi Zhongsun, so he introduced this opportunity to Kai Kairo Kiao. With a high-quality tenant like Industrial Bank, this business could be said to be a sure profit without loss, and even the construction funds could be loaned from Industrial Bank. It could be said to be catching a white wolf with empty hands, profiteering with zero capital. Thus, Kai Kairo Kiao specifically went to find the then Shenzhen Party Secretary Zhang Jiali, requested a piece of land on Shenan Avenue, and built the subsequent Fusion Industrial Bank building. In 2002, Wanyan Investment developed Rui Garden in Nanshan District. This project included 4 18-story towers and a comprehensive building, with a total construction area of 42,000 square meters. Beyond real estate, Yunwei had many small businesses, and Big Deng refused no one, operating on the principle of earning any money available and turning no one away. For example, some road surface maintenance around Shenzhen and the vehicle exhaust inspection stations in Yanshan. These were all done under the banner of environmental protection, counting as responding to the national call. Of course, the main income still came from the benefits sent by people lining up every day to find connections to get things done. It is said that at the time, the couple's external quote was 2 million for showing up once, but without guaranteeing the result. The family's drivers, cooks, and other staff also mainly relied on this to earn extra income, giving insiders a 300,000 commission and keeping the price difference for themselves. During this period, those surrounding them were mostly professional brokers, speculators, small engineering bosses, and family members of bosses who needed to be bailed out of jail. In May 2002, 88-year-old Zai Zhongsun passed away, and Kai Kairo Kiao was liberated. The couple moved back to Beijing and began a new stage of their career. The party secretary of Beijing at the time was still Jie Qinglin. The couple took a piece of land in Chegongzhuang, Zicheng district, and began to personally manage and independently develop the Guanjingyuan community, also known as the Jingyuanyuan community. This community had a total of about 800 households, with unit types mainly being large 3-bedroom and 4-bedroom apartments of 110-250 square meters, targeting executives from Financial Street. In external promotions, they claimed to possess meticulously manicured gardens and grey brick exterior walls that recreated the historical courtyard style of Beijing City. However, due to a lack of a professional team and funds, the entire project progressed very slowly. To seek financing, the couple borrowed money from friends and banks to market the real estate. They even accepted interviews from some magazines. It was not until Honggrun Construction joined in that they were helped to complete the entire project. This experience made the couple decide never to personally manage any project again in the future. They had neither that ability nor the energy to worry about it, and resource matchmaking and catching white wolves with empty hands suited them better. In 2004, the strong-willed Kai Kairo Kiao went to Tsinghua to read for an MBA. Starting from this time, Tsinghua classmates began to construct her new circle of friends. Although the old lady Kai Xin convened family meetings multiple times, requiring Xi Jinping's siblings to all give up doing business, Deng Jiagui and his wife remained unmoved, still trying every way to expand their business map. In 2005, Lai Hongzhong took over as the party secretary of Shenzhen. People generally believe that Lai Hongzhong's loyalty to Xi Jinping comes from his groveling during the Tianjin period. Actually, he began his interactions with the Xi family very early on. In this year, Yunwei and Shenzhen Metro established a joint venture called Shenzhen Metro Yunwei Commercial Development Company, preparing to engage in development above subway stations. Because both parties in the cooperation lacked professional real estate development teams, the project did not progress smoothly. However, Shenzhen Metro essentially established cooperation with the Xi family at their lowest point, counting as having bought at the bottom, because the Xi family was about to welcome a political reversal. In 2007, Xi Jinping was established as the heir apparent, and the Xi family's circumstances also embarked on a new upward period. Many people who saw Xi Jinping's future began trying every means to get close to Deng Jiagui and his wife, placing bets on them in advance. After all, among all the members of the Xi family, Deng Jiagui was the easiest to contact and also the one with the fewest bottom lines. If Xi Jinping's sisters and brothers might still worry about his reputation, this big brother-in-law obviously didn't care much about his brother-in-law's reputation. The couple's extravagance during this period also grew larger and larger at first. They were satisfied with China Southern Airlines' free charter services, but later they would only travel by private jet. Those surrounding them were also universally cadres at the vice-ministerial level or above, and various heads of central enterprises. The level had clearly increased. At this time, with the brewing and launch of the gem growth enterprise market, the entire circle of power and nobility became keen on pre-IPO investments. Deng Jiagui and his wife also began to attempt equity investment. They established a specialized Yunwei investment and later established the platform CCB Yunwei in a joint venture with China Construction Bank CCB. The person at CCB responsible for interfacing with them at the time was Lai Yuns of the Equity Investment Department, who was later recommended as the director of the National Financial Regulatory Administration, the first post-70 ministerial-level cadre in the financial sector. The chairman of CCB at the time was Guo Shuqing, as a confidant of Wang Qishan. His ability to survive that Great Purge does not seem accidental in hindsight. However, despite the full support of CCB, Yunwei's equity investment performance was very mediocre. Aside from a few projects like Hekang Inverter and Wanda Commercial, you would be hard-pressed to name any classic projects of theirs, nor did they manage funds of any large scale. The most main reason for this lies in the fact that both Deng Jiagui and his wife have low education levels and do not understand the investment industry at all. They consistently refused to give the operating team market rate compensation, which made it very difficult for them to find high-level professional managers. It was also difficult to guarantee that the team wouldn't pursue personal interests in private, so this sector never really took off. Many people with nowhere else to turn ran over to ask for their help, sending a pile of equity that couldn't be liquidated, just like the Yi family they cooperated with. In June 2009, Shenzhen Mayor Zhu Zhengheng accepted investigation, and the real estate developers closely related to him were all in precarious positions. Lai Hua of Excellence Real Estate was among them. To protect himself, Lai Hua found Deng Jiagui, hoping to receive the couple's shelter. The terrified Lai Hua guarded Deng Jiagui and his wife 24 hours a day, even staying at their home to sleep. Finally, the two negotiated the conditions. The price was 50% of Excellence's equity, and this also formed the famous Excellence model, intervening when entrepreneurs encounter the risk of imprisonment. The powerful and noble occupy a significant portion of their equity, but it is not reflected on the surface, mostly realized through proxy holding. The powerful do not participate in daily management, entrusting the partner to be responsible, while the powerful provide inclined security protection and high-level network support. To ensure the safety of their equity, the powerful will send several financial and other supervisory personnel to the company. This model, with Chinese characteristics perfectly, combined the professionalism of entrepreneurs with the high-level connections provided by the powerful, and quickly became a hugely popular new model. Of course, Mr. Deng still maintained his old habit of wanting to earn every kind of money, and in his spare time participated in many other projects. In 2008, he established Daddy Energy Company in Beijing and began engaging in the glorious business of coal trafficking. After 2012, he also took over two unfinished building projects in Guangdong, the Guangzhou Tianma River Mansion and the Shenzhen Wangxin Wazhou-style building projects. Due to a lack of sufficient funds, these two projects were shelved until Vanke later joined in. Until 2016, Mr. Deng, busy as he was, found time to take on an engineering job. At the time, the party secretary of Hubei province was the Zhai family's old friend Lai Hongzhong, and the party secretary of Xiangyang was Ren Zhen. The two gave the 1 billion engineering project for the Xiangyang Fengchu Bridge to Deng Jiagui. Of course, Mr. Deng is not a construction man, so he immediately subcontracted it to someone else. However, Ren Zhen had gained trust from this point on and is now serving as the governor of Gansu. Starting from 2013, immediately after Xi Jinping came to power, he began an anti-corruption storm and became increasingly strict with his family. At the same time, Deng Jiagui and his wife also felt that the equity investment industry did not suit them. Although the return rate on individual projects was high, because the proportion of equity held was small, the absolute amount of profit was not that much. Since these enterprises would all be publicly listed in the future, information would be very open, making it hard to maintain secrecy and easy for the outside world to catch leverage against them. Therefore, they decided to withdraw from these investment businesses. This could give Big Brother Xi Jinping an explanation, earn a good reputation, and wouldn't involve much loss. So they sold the equity of Daddy and CCB Yuanwei to Zhiro Jianhua. Two other assets were acquired by Shi Weixiu and Liu Zhehong, and the equity of Jiangxi Rare Earth and Tungsten Metals was acquired by the Zhongzhai Group. As for Wanda Commercial, which was about to list, they couldn't bear to part with it. Instead, they let Zhu Zixing, this old partner, hold this portion of equity by proxy. Starting from 2015, the Baoneng clique began continuously increasing its holdings in Vanke shares, and the highly focused Baoneng-Vanke war erupted. By the end of 2015, Baoneng had already purchased 23% of Vanke's shares. In March 2016, to deal with the threat of the Baoneng clique, Wang Shi found Shenzhen Metro Group, hoping the latter could take over from China Resources and become Vanke's major shareholder. However, Shenzhen Metro was unwilling to put up funds, so Vanke's management released their solution. Vanke would issue shares to acquire assets under Shenzhen Metro, allowing the latter to become Vanke's largest shareholder without spending a penny. This plan, obviously unfavorable to existing shareholders, enraged China Resources Group, which publicly opposed the reorganization proposal between Vanke and Shenzhen Metro, pushing Wang Shi and Vanke management into a desperate corner. By this time, he had offended the top two shareholders, Baoneng and China Resources, to the death. The market widely expected Baoneng to win the Baoneng-Vanke war. However, 6 months later, the situation suddenly reversed. In December 2016, CSRC Chairman Liu Qiangdong publicly bombarded the barbarians of the capital market, and the China Insurance Regulatory Commission urgently called a halt to Forcia Life Insurance's universal life insurance business, causing the Baoneng clique to lose its ammunition depot. In January 2017, China Resources agreed to transfer all held shares to Shenzhen Metro Group, and Shenzhen Metro Group also agreed to put up tens of billions in funds. The Baoneng clique issued a document welcoming Shenzhen Metro's investment in Vanke and began gradually reducing Vanke stock. The fourth largest shareholder, Evergrande, also agreed to transfer all Vanke shares to Shenzhen Metro Group. The Baoneng-Vanke War, which had shaken the whole nation, thus lowered its curtain within the span of 1 month. So, what exactly happened during those 6 months? Who had such great capability to simultaneously settle the six big bosses, the CSRC and the China Insurance Regulatory Commission, the Shenzhen Metro Group and Shenzhen City Leaders, and China Resources Group and the SASAC, and was able to simultaneously make the arrogant Baoneng and Evergrande back down and make concessions? The truth of the matter needs to be examined on a national scale. Starting from 2012, in Deng Jiagui's hometown of Yunnan, the Xinhe company subordinate to Wanyan Investment suddenly charged aggressively into Kunming, signing the primary development rights for the Guandu Cultural Ecological New City from the local government, with a volume exceeding 70,000 mu approx. 4,667 hectares. Among China's provincial capital cities, there had never been such a massive land consolidation project before this. Nationally renowned real estate companies like Jink, Bank of China, Real Estate Arm, Evergrande, Sunac, and Blu-ray could only get land from the hands of this Xinhe company, and the officials who put in great effort for this project all received benefits later. Then Yunnan Governor Liu Qiangdong was later promoted to provincial party secretary and also successfully changed his political faction, establishing a connection with the First Family. Then Kunming Party Secretary Zhang Tianxin was Deng Jiagui's little brother, although later investigated by the Central Commission for Discipline Inspection (CCDI), he received a lenient sentence of demotion, having the best ending among all fallen Kunming Party secretaries. However, due to its own shortage of funds, this sure-win business of Xinhe progressed very slowly. In March 2016, Vanke's entry patched up the final shortcoming of Xinhe. Vanke not only successively took down dozens of development plots, but also directly invested huge sums into Xinhe, not only solving the latter's funding problem, but becoming the most important aid for Xinhe to manage these 70,000 mu of land. Not only on the Kunming project, but starting from March 2016, Vanke began to be deeply bound with Wanyan investment. The Shenzhen Wangxin Wuzhou-style shopping center and the Guangzhou Tianma River Mansion, the two unfinished buildings Deng Jiagui later took over, also received the full support of Vanke's funds. In May 2017, Guangdong Vanke Investment Company was established. This is a very important investment platform for Vanke, intervening in land acquisition, mergers and acquisitions, and urban renewal in various places, with dozens of projects already under its banner. However, in this company, Vanke is only a minority shareholder. The majority shareholder, holding 51%, is an affiliated company of Wanyan Investment, taking projects under Vanke's banner, with Vanke providing funds and teams, yet the majority of the project investment returns go to an unknown small company. What kind of spirit is this? Is Vanke Lei Feng? Not only that, cooperation between Vanke and the Excellence clique also increased. The two companies cooperated to develop the Shanghai Wujiachang office building and the Beijing Emerald Hills project, and also united to take land in multiple cities. Even the general manager of Excellence was recommended from the Vanke system, truly achieving one big family. After retiring, Wang Shi once accepted an interview. Speaking of the Baoneng-Vanke War, he sighed with emotion, saying that previously he was a bit unable to touch the sky above, unable to touch the ground below, too idealistic. But through this battle, it let us connect to heaven and earth. If earth represents the real estate industry Vanke engages in, then what is heaven? In China, who can be called heaven? If we now answer the previous question, who simultaneously settled so many government departments, and so, allowing the Vanke management team to win the Baoneng-Vanke War, can you get the answer now? This time, the Vanke model is fundamentally different from the Excellence model, because Vanke is a public enterprise, and the management has no ability to arrange or gift equity. They can only conduct interest transmission outside the body through funds and projects. Of course, this happened to solve Wonian Investment's shortcoming. However, this model also destined Vanke to be just an adopted son. Once it has no ability to continue paying filial piety to the godfather, it is very easily discarded, which is completely different from a biological son like excellence. This model also destined Vanke's subsequent fall, and since Vanke sought refuge with the powerful, it also turned into a completely different corporate culture. Vanke going bad also started from March 2016. As for the story of Vanke, we will tell it later. 2016 was a big year for the Xi family. In this year, Xi Jinping defeated his competitors and was established as the core of the new generation of leadership. In this year, Deng Jiagui and his wife not only captured Vanke, but also harvested another enterprise, Hengli Group. Chen Jianhua and his wife Fan Hongwei started from a weaving factory in Suzhou, constantly marching upstream in the industry, and blocked the industry wind tunnel, guessed the right trends multiple times. Finally, they became rookies in the chemical field. In 2010, the Chen Jianhua couple followed the old party secretary of Suzhou, Wang Min, to Liaoning and built a petrochemical industrial park on the desolate Changxing Island in Dalian. However, success is due to Xiaohe, and failure is also due to Xiaohe. In March 2016, former Liaoning Party Secretary Wang Min accepted organizational investigation, and Chen Jianhua was also taken away to assist in the investigation. The newly commissioned petroleum refining project faced the risk of a capital chain rupture, and the entire enterprise also faced life or death. At the critical moment, Fan Hongwei asked someone to find Deng Jiagui and his wife, stating the development prospects of her own enterprise face to face, and voluntarily proposed to contribute the controlling stake, with the Chen Jianhua couple holding it by proxy. Chen Jianhua would still operate it on the front stage, while behind the scenes, the Deng Jiagui couple would provide security protection and high-level support, sharing the industry dividends together. Once conditions were settled, Kai Kairo Kiao went out to plead the case. In September 2010, translators note, context suggests 2016 based on the flow, but source says 2010, keeping faithful to source text. Chen Jianhua reappeared in public, and the Hengli Group website released news of him receiving relevant government leaders. It was also from this time that Hengli Group obtained supranational treatment or even supra-state-enterprise treatment from various national departments and financial institutions, beginning a brand new stage of hyperspeed development. In April 2018, Hengli Petrochemical obtained a quota for the use of 20 million tons of imported crude oil. This is the largest crude oil usage quota ever obtained by a private refinery. Hengli thus ranked alongside Sinopec Zhenhai, PetroChina Dalian, and Sinuk Huizhou as China's four major refineries. In 2019, the Ministry of Commerce approved Hengli Refining's application for crude oil import qualifications. Hengli Petrochemical became the first private refining and chemical integrated enterprise in the country to hold both usage and import crude oil rights, solving the most critical raw material source problem for refining enterprises. The National Development and Reform Commission, NDRC, also gave the green light all the way for Hengli's project approvals. Petroleum refining is a capital-intensive industry. Smooth funding channels are the key to project success. In 2018, China Development Bank took less than 3 months to successfully lead the formation of the largest syndicated loan in the history of the Dalian region, 31 billion RMB approx. 1.2 billion USD, and provided 3 billion RMB approx. 300 million USD in working capital loans. In 2018 alone, Hengli obtained 90 billion in funding support, and in the first half of 2019 added another 50+ billion in loans. The support of numerous banks gave Hengli the courage for frantic expansion. In 2022, the Dalian government sent another big gift to Hengli. More than a decade ago, South Korea's SDX Group invested over 20 billion RMB in Dalian to build a shipbuilding base. It was the largest foreign-invested shipbuilding enterprise in China at the time, and its shipbuilding technology level led the world in the same industry. At peak production, it employed 30,000 people, but later it went bankrupt and reorganized due to parent company issues and the sustained depression of the shipping industry. Starting from 2021, with the global economic recovery and post-pandemic trade rebound, the global shipbuilding industry started a super upward cycle, and the industry began facing a state of tight capacity. With the full support of then Dalian Party Secretary Hu Yuting, Hengli's subsidiary Hengli Heavy Industry spent less than 1.8 billion to auction off all assets of SDX Dalian. State-owned enterprises such as Jiangsu Port Group and Everbright Financial Leasing Company quickly brought orders for multiple container ships to Hengli Heavy Industry, with amounts approaching 3 billion RMB. In 2023, the number of new orders received by Hengli Heavy Industry already ranked 6th in China and 9th globally, with 140 new ships confirmed for production, valued at approximately 76.9 billion yuan. Immediately after, Chen Jianhua placed the equity of Hengli Heavy Industry into Songfa shares, achieving a backdoor listing for the shipbuilding business, becoming the first stock of private shipbuilding, snatching 14 limit-up boards in one go, with a market value exceeding 40 billion RMB. Regarding the various questions during the backdoor listing process, the CSRC turned a blind eye, giving the green light all the way. In other words, the Chen Jianhua family used less than 3 years to create another listed company with a market value of over 40 billion. This is the speed of wealth creation by crony capitalism. In 2024, Chen Jianhua also attempted to reorganize his Kanghui New Material with Dalian Thermal Power, subordinate to the Dalian SASAC, to achieve a backdoor listing for Kanghui New Material. If the backdoor listing succeeds, it will contribute another several tens of billions in assets to the Chen Jianhua family. However, for unknown reasons, this reorganization plan later fizzled out. Not only the Dalian municipal government, but in the eyes of local leaders in Jiangsu and Shanghai, Hengli Group has also become a sweet pastry highly sought after. The first thing Chen Jining did after taking office as party secretary of Shanghai was to secretly run to Suzhou in his private capacity to visit Chen Jianhua. The whole process was done without notifying the Jiangsu side. After Zhu Kunlin was transferred to Liaoning, his first act was also to invite Chen Jianhua over for a visit. Successive party secretaries of Suzhou have enshrined Hengli Group like a god, always responding to their requests. Because of this reason, Suzhou has become another political high ground. The cooperation between Deng Jiagui and his wife and Hengli can be called a classic. On the 2024 Huron Rich List, the Chen Jianhua couple's wealth value reached 125 billion yuan, ranking 20th. If calculated at a 50% ratio, Deng Jiagui and his wife's assets from just this one deal reached over 60 billion. If adding the shareholding in Excellence Group and other assets, the Deng Jiagui couple's net worth firmly surpasses the threshold of 100 billion. This cooperation model perfectly combines the operational ability of private entrepreneurs with the security guarantee, industry access, and financial support provided by the powerful family, shaping a super enterprise with super SOE treatment. And moreover, on the surface, no evidence of any shareholding by the powerful family can be found, leaving no handle for others. Because the shareholding ratio is high, the absolute returns for the powerful family are far higher than traditional P investment, and their investment generally intervenes when the private entrepreneur encounters a desperate situation with basically no investment cost. Compared to their investment returns, Buffett's investment performance is simply too mediocre. For those enterprises they do not control, the couple is not that diligent. Even if they accept the fees paid in tribute, Mr. Deng might not help, and even if he shows his face to help, he guarantees no results. Regarding getting things done, the big Deng couple is a bit unprincipled, and their reputation is also very average. Zhu Lei, the chairman of Yunnan Metropolitan Construction Investment, had always been licking Deng Jiagui's boots and voluntarily gave Big Deng a mixing plant, which was later resold for 100 million. However, because Zhu Lei also clung to other powerful figures, Big Deng did not extend a helping hand when he fell. In the Yunnan Greenland case, Bossy also later found Big Deng and paid several million in public relations fees. But in the end, Big Deng didn't help with anything. Bai Tianhui, who was executed in the Hurong International case, was once a subordinate of Qin Ling, the son of Yunnan Party Secretary Qin Guangrong. He had many resources in Yunnan, and to obtain protection, he also spun around Deng Jiagui all day, even offering up a Hong Kong asset management industry Type 9 license to help Big Deng solve many matters. But after he got into trouble, Big Deng took no action whatsoever. In the eyes of the Deng couple, these people spinning around them cannot be spoken of as having any friendship. They don't even need to be treated as human beings. Speaking of this, many people may ask, does Xi Jinping himself know about the affairs of Deng Jiagui and his wife? Has he personally provided help for his big sister's business? Don't rush. Let's first talk about the historical Wen Jiabao paradox. For a very long time, when Jiabao appeared before the public with the clean image of wearing cloth shoes and looking up at the starry sky. Later, people learned that his wife, son, and brothers were all doing business recklessly, accumulating tens of billions in assets. So, did Wen Jiabao actually know about his family's actions? It is said that, after the New York Times reported on the Wen family's wealth, Wen Jiabao was very angry and had a huge fight with Zhang Bailey, even proposing divorce. Actually, whether the leader himself knows about his family doing business is an irrelevant question. The key lies in whether he provided help for their business. Even if Wen Jiabao did not understand his family's behavior, regarding the matters Zhang Bailey proposed, such as adjusting a certain government official's position, or coming out to save a certain private enterprise, or issuing a certain policy, he responded to every request. This gave old lady Zhang the de facto power to mobilize the premier, and also gave her the ability to accumulate massive assets. You must know, top entrepreneurs like Ma Ming's are not fools. If you cannot mobilize the bodhisattva behind you, he will not donate incense money to you, the abbot. Now, we must discuss the story of Xi Jinping and his family members. If you ask whether Xi Jinping clearly knows the wealth story of his eldest sister's family, I am willing to believe that he himself is not clear. Historically, he has convened family meetings multiple times, prohibiting relatives from doing business. He even imprisoned his own cousin Kai Ming for over 3 months and later expelled him to Australia. In the Jianghu public sphere/rumor mill, there are no stories of Peng Liyuan or his daughter doing business. However, just like the Wen Jiabao case, whether Xi Jinping himself knows is actually irrelevant. The key is whether he let his eldest sister's family share his power. If he were not influenced by his eldest sister in any public matters, and did not let the people around him be dominated by her, then it would be difficult for Kai Kairo Kiao's family to accumulate such massive wealth. In fact, Xi Jinping has still been influenced by this eldest sister unconsciously. Since the time they were sent down to the countryside, the eldest sister would send part of her monthly wages to the two brothers. In middle age, she gave up her official career to take care of their father. For many years, she gave up personal planning for the sake of the family. In Xi Jinping's family, besides his mother Kai Xin, the one with the highest status is this eldest sister. It can be said that Kai Kairo Kiao is the patriarch of the Xi family. Xi Yuanping is merely the Xi family's external liaison. Because Xi Jinping rarely has time to be alone with cadres, it is very hard for him to see the true face of a cadre. Therefore, when appointing cadres, the great leader most needs the endorsement and recommendation of those around him. For cadres recommended by his eldest sister, Xi Jinping will naturally feel close to them and take it for granted that they are people who have passed his own family's test. Therefore, many high-ranking cadres of the CCP have benefited from the recommendation and operation of Deng Jiagui and his wife, such as Tibet Party Secretary Wang Junzheng, Ningxia Party Secretary Lai Yifei, Jilin Governor Hu Yuting, Heilongjiang Party Secretary Zhu Qin, Guangdong Governor Meng Fanli, Gansu Governor Ren Zhen, Director of the National Financial Regulatory Administration Lai Yuns, and so on. It can be said that in recent years, major cadres originating from Yunnan and Shenzhen have indistinguishable ties with their family. For example, former Yunnan Party Secretary Lai Zhiheng and Tianjin Party Secretary Lai Hongzhong. Even cadres in many key central departments obtain their positions from their recommendations, especially departments that can arrest and save people, such as Secretary General of the Central Political and Legal Affairs Commission Yin Bai, Deputy Secretary of the CCDI Sun Xinjiang, and so on. We can even predict that Sun Xinjiang will be the next Executive Deputy Secretary of the CCDI. And many staff members around Xi Jinping, including heads of many key departments, for example, former head of the Organization Department Chen Zai, and State Councillor Wang Yong, who oversaw state assets because they know the relationship between the brother and sister, they will also unconsciously be mobilized by Kai Kairo Kiao, secretly helping her to solve matters. No person with low EQ would tell these situations to the great leader. Even if you went to complain, their superficial paperwork is done very well. The equity is all under other people's names. There is no evidence, so your complaint would be a deliberate false accusation by a hostile party. In the end, Xi Jinping faces the same paradox as Wen Jiabao. He styles himself as anti-corruption, yet his family has become the biggest corrupt elements. When Jiabao found his wife's corruption and could divorce, Xi Jinping found his iron buddy Wang Qishan corrupt and could strike him down. If one day Xi Jinping discovers his eldest sister is corrupt, what will he do? Kinship cannot be divorced away, and he cannot strike them down like he struck down Wang Qishan. It seems that if there is no genuine reform in the system, if the problems of checks and balances and supervision of power are not solved, relying only on campaign-style anti-corruption cannot truly solve the corruption problem. Because some people are inherently above the storm, overriding the CCDI and any supervisory institution. Under these circumstances, anti-corruption actions only transfer power and corruption to another group of people. Absolute power creates absolute corruption. The one who is corrupt is not necessarily the person holding absolute power himself, but it could also be the people around him who share his power. Thank you for watching.